Now, one day, you best bet we gonna get pulled over.
What to do when you get pulled over, what not to do.
There are talks that are given in every household. The one about looking both ways before crossing the street, the one about saying please and thank you, the one about the birds and the bees that you pray to God ends before it even starts.
Questions about what you whatever, so.
But there's a talk that some don't receive. A talk that is mandatory in some communities, but not others.
You gotta look calm, answer their questions, but don't tell them nothing extra. Keep your hands out your pockets. You drop something, you leave that where it's at.
I never received this talk. Nobody in my family received it. Now that doesn't mean we don't receive a talk on respecting law and not to get in trouble. But we were never given this talk.
My parents definitely gave me the talk.
One of the most difficult jobs probably on the planet.
It's almost like a preparation for a test.
It's the part of our culture that fails to be acknowledged or recognized.
This clip gives a sneak peek into a movie called The Hate U Give, which is set to hit screens on October 19. This preview offers a window into a conversation that happens all over the country. A conversation where parents outline step by step what their child should do when pulled over by law enforcement.
Keep your hands where they can see them.
And it's a conversation that unfortunately could mean the difference between life and death when a situation like this inevitably comes up. Where to put your hands, what to do when asked for ID, what happens if you accidentally drop something. These talking points are addressed not only in this clip, but typically in countless black households across the US.
Stay calm.
Don't fight back. Don't give any rebuttals. You have to understand, if you want to stay alive, you have to do what they say.
Because it could be the difference between me seeing you again and not seeing you again.
Does that mean other communities don't have similar conversations? No, I'm sure many other families do too. And I'd actually like to hear from you about them. But from those I have spoken to, from the research conducted and the clear fact that black people are pulled over at a far greater rate than any other portion of the population, one can assume these conversations take place primarily in that community. But here's the thing, while this is deemed a mandatory conversation for black families, it should also mean mandatory listening for others. Because when you hear people dispute this myth of white privilege, they maybe say things like, well, I wasn't given anything, I had to work my ass off to get where I am, or I wasn't given any free handouts. Those are all actual responses that have been thrown back at me when I've sought to discuss the subject of privilege with other people. And white privilege is not something that can be measured or that's simply handed to you. It's simply the ability to live your life without added obstacles thrown in your path.
If you, as a white person, would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you.
Like this. So I asked those who dispute this idea of privilege, was this talk mandatory in your household? From an early age, was your race something that you had to be conscious of? I assume not, and that's an example of privilege. One that many overlook still in their attempts to downplay racial issues in the country. But that's why it's so important that we listen. Just because you were not given this talk doesn't mean it doesn't involve you. It does, because the only way we get to a point in society where maybe this talk is no longer necessary is if we understand why some communities have it and some don't. And maybe for that to happen, the first step is for people of different races to talk to each other about this issue. And only once that happens can we maybe work towards putting an end to it. To continue this conversation, come over to my Instagram at Francis M. Maxwell. You can become a TYT member at tytnetwork.com/join. Never missed another breakdown video by ringing the bell below. You'll get notified whenever we publish something new. And don't forget to join TYT today. Download our TYT Plus app on your phone or head over to tyt.com/join.